Well, this week marks the one-year anniversary of President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. Democrats say that it has worked and inflation is down. Republicans have a counter-argument. They say the plan known as Bidenomics is not working and instead is hurting American families. Joining us now is Paul Dykewicz, editor and columnist at stockinvestor.com and editorial director of Eagle Financial Publications in Washington, D.C. Paul, great to have you back on. Good to see you. A lot to get to today, but first, let's talk about Bidenomics. I mean, the president has been out and about promoting his administration's economic plan, of course, and says it's working, but it doesn't seem that many Americans feel the same way. I mean, what say you, Paul? Do you think we're on the right track here?
Well, I'll avoid the political commentary and I'll focus on the numbers. Inflation is up. It's high. You've had interest rates now rising. In fact, mortgages are now averaging over 8%, the highest level in 21 years. So if you're looking for a home, the numbers would tell you that the policies are not really working. The rates are continuing to go up. If you're in an existing home, you're a saver who's getting extra money, maybe with a CD that's paying 5% or more, you're probably thinking that's maybe not such a bad thing. But it really hurts the folks on the bottom, which is typically not the way the Democrats want to operate. So anyways, I don't know how well it's going to work for him politically. Obviously, the polls haven't been in his favor. You've got a Republican possible candidate who might win the nomination, President Trump, again, still looking like he's pretty strong without any real competitor who seems to be coming up close to him in terms of the polls. But yet they both have flaws. So we'll just have to see what happens ultimately. But clearly the numbers are showing that inflation is not under control. And if you're looking for a house, you're going to feel that bite when you see what your interest rates will be. For 15-year mortgages, the fixed rate's above 7% right now. And for 30-year mortgages, above 8%.
Yeah, and also a conundrum for those who are looking to sell their homes, I'm sure.
Well, that's true, too, because you still have to pay interest rates unless you're going to be able to buy a house with cash. And very few people can do that.
Yeah. Also, according to a recent report by the San Francisco Federal Reserve, it says Americans are depleting their savings and cash reserves that they built up since the pandemic. What's more, earlier reports found that more and more people were putting their day-to-day expenses on credit cards, causing overall credit card debt to surge to $1 trillion. I mean, Paul, this is all really concerning for American families. I mean, what are they to do?
Well, again, we've talked about debt before, Tracy, in my previous appearances, and it's really a problem if people get beyond their scope of being able to repay it. So the concern is that interest rates can really drive up your debt pretty quickly if they go up, and it's been happening. So I would say just be cautious, try not to spend beyond your means, economize if you need to do it, and avoid going into debt or going deeper into debt if you can control it. Unfortunately, some people don't have that choice. They might need, to spend on, supplies and food and, sending their kids to school and other types of things. Gasoline's been up. So a lot of things that people need that are staple items are getting higher in price. So what's somebody to do? So it's kind of a dilemma. You'd hope perhaps the deficit would get better under control and there would be workable policy solutions and ways to help minimize the problem. But right now it looks like the Fed is probably going to do one more rate hike. At least it'll only be maybe a 0.25% compared to Russia this week, which did a 3% raise, 3.5 or so, and then up to 12%. So they're like double what we're at right now. But that's a war created problem of President Putin's doing. So they've created their own mistakes and they have to live with the consequences. But ideally, we'll get things under control. And you've got a potential contagion from China because of some difficulties there with companies being overextended and not paying people that were expecting to get some compensation. And so these are real worries that there could be ripple effects that could affect the financial system, not just in China and in Russia, but elsewhere.
Paul, real quick, we have like 20 seconds left or so, but any advice for folks right now who are really kind of feeling the pinch?
I would just say be cautious about spending and just realize what your capabilities are to pay back and try not to get into more debt than's necessary. And just try to stay calm, keep the faith and just don't panic And then if you need some help, seek out people who can give you help. I know people sometimes are going to food kitchens these days, and if they need to do it, it's there. Take advantage of it, and maybe one day they'll be able to help others.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Paul, great to be with you. Wonderful advice. Appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you. You too.